Today we are going to be looking at the Axe-Fx 3 and I'm going to show you guys how to get perfect gapless switching every time. Let's go! Hey, hope you're doing well. So I've had my Axe-Fx 3 now for maybe a month or two and it's absolutely incredible. Cannot express enough how well it plays and how good it sounds. So as you all know, we've got the A, B, C, D channels on all of your blocks there. Now I honestly thought that there wouldn't be any gap, but like any effects modeler, it's a computer. It's got to think about it, it's got to reach there, and there is a dog barking in the background, but there's also a very small gap when that changes from each channel, from A to B, B to C, etc. So I just made a few adjustments to one of my live rigs that I use in my original band. Sounds like this. Now, if you were paying close attention there, you would have noticed that slight gap when it went from the dirty channel to the clean channel. It's not much, but it's there. Just pay attention as it switches. I've got a switch on the floor. I'm just going to chug, have a listen. Now, whilst that gap is still there, it's fairly minor and it's probably not really worth worrying about, but it still does annoy me. So here's how I go about it. So as I said, I'm using the Axe-Fx 3, which obviously gives me the opportunity to load up 2 amp blocks. If you have the FM3, unfortunately, you don't get the opportunity to have 2 amp blocks. I don't know about the FM9, but anyway, Axe-Fx 3, you have 2 amp block options. So I'm going to bring in the second amp block and just connect them up. Now, in my blocks library, I'm just going to load this preset here, which is DW, clean and lead. So I'm going to be using this amp block for both my clean tone and my lead tone. And this one here is just going to stay on the 1 USA 2C++. This amp sounds great, really happy with this one. So that's my clean scene here. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that one off. Come back to this amp here. Now I know that channel C is the one that I like. It's the Jazz 120, sounds amazing. If you change to channel B there, or sorry, scene 2 I should say, that amp has stayed the same. Let's just listen to that. Let me just turn off on this clean scene the delay, the chorus, and the reverb so you can hear that there's no gap in that amp change. Perfection, right? So this is where you want to go in and really utilize the power of the scenes. So this particular patch I use for one song. I've got all of my songs set out so that I have one patch per song. Now I am using the same amp and the same sounds across the board. However, every song's structure is a little bit different. So that's what I'm talking about here with the scenes, is that you want to more or less have them set out for the structure of the song. So this is my clean sound, that's my dirty sound. This one here, I just got a little bit of, I call it that's the chorus of the song. So it's going to have a little bit of delay on that one. That's my lead sound. For whatever reason, I decided to put this scene here on number 5, but it comes in actually before number 4. However, I know to press that one and I have everything automated so it just changes itself anyway. So for example, in this song, I've got a couple of clean sections, got some heavy sections, got a lead. So it's mapped out in a way that there's not going to be any amp switching going on in the same block where you're going to be able to hear it. What do I mean by that? I mean, when I've got this scene here loaded, which is dirt, I've got this amp loaded. So from that channel here, I go back to my clean amp. So I have that loaded here on the clean amp. Now, if this was on B, on this dirt channel, then when I go back to the first scene, you're gonna hear that switch. Now, let me show you what I mean there. So you can hear it when it goes back into the clean tone that the amp switched. You don't want that. So what you want to make sure you do there is have the appropriate amp or the appropriate channel loaded on the amp you're not using, so that when you do load it up, it's just going to be there ready to go. It doesn't have to load the amp as well as turn on. So scene number 5, this one leads into the solo. So you can see there on scene 5, I'm using this amp, it's on, but this amp that's off has loaded the lead channels. Now I know it's out of order, but when we go back to the lead channel, that amp's already loaded. There's not going to be any gap in between. So I'm just going to play through the sections now. Make sure you keep an eye on the scene section. I'm going to be changing those on the floor here. It's going to sound nice and smooth. So on a couple of those scenes there, all I did was bring in a phaser, or I brought in a delay, but it gives me the opportunity using the scenes to change the amp lock and change the channel and have the other amp set up, ready to go, so that when it transitions into the next section, it's nice and smooth and there's no gap. So if you know the structure of your song, lay out your scenes in a way where it makes sense and you're gonna get this nice smooth changes. If you're a person who likes to just change on the fly and things change all the time, you might have to do a little bit more thinking, but that's one way to go about doing awesome changes every time in your Axe FX 3. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. See you next time.